But right now, here today, I'm starting by announcing that I'm going to stop indulging in academic fluff. And I'm going to stop indulging in vague promises of outcomes. And I'm going to link all of my work to hard-headed neuroscience, neurological changes, and biohacks, which are going to serve people by offering strategies and ideas that they can implement with the least amount of fuss possible. What if I told you that your neurology is a good slave, but a bad master? And that many of the things that you may be struggling with at the moment are the results of your neurology, but that the neurology that you're experiencing is something that you've gently and unwittingly trained yourself into having. And just as you can train your neurology into having certain outlooks and getting certain results, you can also train your neurology into getting different outlooks and gaining different results. The question is, what kind of results do you require? And if the results you require are the same as you had yesterday and the same as you will have tomorrow, but they feel unsatisfactory, vaguely disassociated from who you feel you really are, and they just encourage you to live a humdrum existence, well, if that's what you want, you can have that. You can have that by simply doing the same things every day that you have done so far. The good news, of course, is that you can change that, but what it requires is a bit of base camp knowledge. And the base camp knowledge that you're required to have includes the following. First of all, know that your brain is not set in stone. And yes, I understand it may be difficult to overcome certain fixations or certain locked-in attributes, feelings, even genetics. However, that doesn't mean that your brain is some kind of clay lump inside your head. Your brain is an organ like others, and it can be trained, and it can be refined, and it can be assisted, just like others. So how? The first step is to realize that your brain is trainable. And the second step is to understand that the things you've been doing have been training your brain. So logically, it follows that if you do different things, you can train your brain to act differently, doesn't it? What do we need to know? We need to know that there is a biological link between how your brain acts and how you act. And that if you change that biological link by acting differently, your brain will follow suit. There is a lot of theoretical information about how the subconscious can locate and lock in certain ideas. And I'm a great believer in this. I say I'm a believer in this because we have no scientific basis to prove that our subconscious locks in information. However, we do have anecdotal information. The truth of it is we can auto-suggest, i.e. suggest to ourselves the things that we want, and we can auto-suggest to our subconscious the results that we want. And if we do this effectively enough and often enough, the subconscious is going to respond by providing the answers we seek and allowing us to see the opportunities that we may previously have missed. Now back to the brain. The brain operates like a complex chemical factory in which electrical charges are distributed, not randomly, but all over the brain at different times for different reasons. For example, were you to listen to music, one area of your brain would light up to listen to the bass response, but another area of your brain would listen to, say, the vocals or the melody. In the past, people used to believe that we only use 2/3 of our brain. Not true. We use 100% of our brain at all times. At all times, day and night, our brain is triggering, lighting up, sending out electrical charges, and joining neurological jots, shall we say, across axons. And those neurological jots are assisted by the chemicals in the brain. If you scroll a lot, or you are easily distracted, it may be that you are experiencing lots of dopamine spikes. And so the dopamine chemical in your brain is facilitating certain actions, activities, and certain kinds of anticipation of pleasure. If we are pleasure-based creatures, surely it follows that we can fabricate pleasure by taking pleasure in things like discipline, outcomes, goals, satisfaction, and other things that previously might have seemed to be a bit of a stretch. Instead of taking pleasure and taking our dopamine hits from scrolling endlessly, why not take your pleasure and dopamine hits from achieving a particular goal or getting something done? The chemical factory inside your body is going to be formed and reformed by the way that you act, think, and believe. So, if you change the ways that you act, think, and believe, and so the chemical factory in your brain is going to enable you to get things done, facilitate advances and improvements more smoothly, the more often you engage in the train your brain process. You may be wondering why I'm sharing this information with you. Well, I have selfish motives, I will admit. But my selfish motives are also guided by research and by experience. My research has found that increasingly men who wish to pivot and who are in a midlife pivot situation want hard facts and they want hard science to assist them to make changes that they require in their lives. So rather than having the self-help visualization kind of guff, they want to know in a hard-headed way and in a pragmatic way how to change things. What I'm describing is a link between your neurology and your physicality, which means that logically you can change your circumstances by changing your behaviors, which is going to instruct your brain to change the way that it serves up the chemicals that you require to feel reward and satisfaction and achievement. If you want to know more about this, do continue to follow the channel. But right now, here today, I'm starting by announcing that I'm going to stop indulging in academic fluff. And I'm going to stop indulging in vague promises of outcomes. And I'm going to link all of my work to hard-headed neuroscience, neurological changes, and biohacks, which are going to serve people by offering strategies and ideas that they can implement with the least amount of fuss possible. So thank you for listening thus far. This really was a bit of a public service announcement about how the Clarity Lab is going to go forward. So if you're interested and intrigued, signal your interest by posting the word neuro, N-E-U-R-O, in the comments below, and I will do my level best to get back to you. I'm particularly interested in hearing from people about what it is exact dream, or even generally, that they'd like me to discuss with them and explore and maybe represent on their behalf.